Their houses had been destroyed since 2002. And they are all the time, they are in rented places. We paid millions of dollars, as rent for those people.
So at last, the gravel rolls into Gaza, and a number of UN projects will finally begin. But for the private sector, cement and stones are still banned by Israel. In their case, the only option is to smuggle in supplies or once again use recycled stone. Nicole Johnston, Al Jazeera at Sufa Crossing.
This is Al Jazeera, and these are the stories making the headlines now. The son of Libya's leader has warned rebel fighters they face a heavy defeat by government forces. But foreign ministers from Arab Gulf states have added their voices to mounting international pressure against the Libyan regime. Well, they say Gaddafi's government has lost its legitimacy. Saif al-Islam's comments came after NATO's Secretary-General said the alliance plans to move warships to the Mediterranean. NATO defence ministers are in Brussels, where they've been discussing possible military action in Libya. But Anders Fogh Rasmussen said NATO still needs a clear legal mandate to enforce a no-fly zone over Libya. Well, France, meanwhile, is saying it recognises the Opposition National Council as the only legitimate representation of the Libyan people. Paris has also announced its intention to open a French embassy in the city of Benghazi, the seat of the Libyan uprising. On the ground, forces loyal to Libyan leader Muammar al-Gaddafi have launched new airstrikes on the eastern oil towns of Ras Lanuf and Brega. Rebel forces are reported to be retreating from Ras Lanuf. Saudi Arabia's Interior Ministry says 2 protesters and a policeman were injured when police fired into the air in the eastern city of Qatif. Demonstrators there have been holding rallies calling for political change and the release of 9 political prisoners over the past 2 weeks. Websites have called for a day of rage on Friday. The Dow Jones Industrial Average has had its worst day in 7 months, falling nearly 2% on Thursday. Concerns about protests and instability in major oil-producing countries contributed to the poor performance. Hundreds of students in Bahrain are keeping up the pressure on their leadership to make swift democratic reforms. Well, they've been marching to Pearl Roundabout in Manama, the focal point of anti-government demonstrations. They complain of discrimination by Sunni leaders against the majority Shia population. A congressional hearing in the United States into so-called radicalization of America's Muslims has led to widespread accusations of Islamophobia. But Republican Congressman Peter King says the purpose of the hearing is to inform, not to inflame. Alassane Ouattara says the African Union has endorsed him as the rightful leader of Côte d'Ivoire. He made the declaration at an African Union summit taking place in Ethiopia. It's the first time Ouattara has left Côte d'Ivoire since the political standoff. That's it for now. Stay with us.
As calls for a no-fly zone over Libya are getting louder, Paris makes a move, becoming the first nation to recognize the rebel council as Libya's only legitimate representatives. And France is urging other countries to follow suit. Has Gaddafi lost the diplomatic battle? Will a new government rise in the east of Libya? This is Inside Story. Hello and welcome to the program. Good to have you with us. I'm Divya Gopalan. Diplomatic and political developments are now taking place that might shift the battle for Libya. France has become the first European country to recognize the Libyan rebel leadership, the National Libyan Council, as the country's legitimate government. Now, the step was announced in Paris by the office of the French President Nicolas Sarkozy, a day after European members of parliament tried to convince the entire EU to recognize the rebels. But other members of the EU have said that they need to know more about the opposition's political leadership and agenda, and that they want to work together with the Arab League before taking steps to recognize them. But already, Portugal has cut ties with Gaddafi government, and leaders around the world are being asked to take a stand. So let's take a look at who's in the council. The National Libyan Council was set up by the opposition groups on February 27th in the eastern city of Benghazi under the leadership of the former Justice Minister Mustafa Abdel Jalil. It includes 31 representatives from most of the regions in Libya. A few days after formation, the council declared itself as the country's only legitimate representative, describing itself as the face of the revolution. The council says its main missions are to free all areas still under Gaddafi's rule and represent the country internationally, draft a constitution, then hold elections. Well, to discuss our topic with our three guests, in Illinois we have Francis Boyle. He's a professor of international law at the University of Illinois. Francis Boyle was a lawyer for Bosnia and Herzegovina during the war in Bosnia and was able to help secure a NATO-endorsed no-fly zone over the country. In London, Juma El-Gamati, a Libyan writer and political activist. And in Toronto, Andrew McGregor, he's a senior editor of the Global Terrorism Analysis Programme, a specialist on North Africa for Jamestown Foundation. Gentlemen, welcome to the programme. If I may first start with Francis Boyle. Mr. Boyle, can you tell us what it means for Libya to have France recognize this rebel council and what kind of an effect this could lead to?
Well, clearly what France did here is illegal. It violates international law and the United Nations Charter prohibiting intervention in the domestic affairs of a state. So it indicates that France is going to get involved here in an attempt to overthrow the Gaddafi government.
Juma El-Gamati, do you agree what France is doing is illegal and that France is looking to overthrow the Gaddafi government?
No, I don't think so. I think the world community, the international legality, the Security Council, plus other bodies like the Arab League, the Islamic Conference have all stated that Gaddafi no longer holds any legitimacy. When a ruler turns against his people and starts killing them en masse, when a ruler wages full-blooded war against his own people, you know, the semantics become irrelevant. There is a moral issue here. You know, Gaddafi is now being investigated by the World Crimes Court. He's been alerted by the Interpol, and the Security Council have banned travel on him. He does not represent his people anymore. So what has emerged is an interim council that has taken time to form from delegates from various cities and towns who form their own local councils. And this is a process that's much more representative, much more democratic, much more drawn from a consensus, and it has been supported by Libyans widely within Libya, not just in the liberated regions and cities, but also in other cities in the West, where people came out and said, we support this council. This council is only interim, it's only temporary. It